Hey guys, I am back with my August plan with me, and this video is extra special because I'm collabing with my dear friend ChristineMyLinh, whom you guys probably already know and love by now. Before we get into it, I'm going to show you a couple of spreads from my July setup, just so that you can see how everything turned out. This is where I did the boho theme, and I really enjoyed the simplicity of it, and I thought it was really fun to come up with the ideas for the spreads. This was the highlights page that I have yet to fill in, but otherwise I kept up with pretty much all the spreads and they worked great. Alright, so now we're gonna get into the cover page. Cristina and I decided to do feathers for this month, so that's what I'm gonna start off with. There are so many different ways that you can draw feathers, but you can kind of think of it just as if you were drawing leaves because the shape is very similar, except you want to kind of feather it out at the bottom so that it looks like an actual feather and not a leaf. Then I went in with some watercolors, leaving the tips of the feathers white. If you don't have watercolors, you can of course use markers or anything else, but I really like the effect that the watercolors have. For the tips, I went in with my gold pen and I left some white stripes to give more contrast in between the colors, and it also adds a bit more interest. Alright, so then I just drew some leaves to kind of frame the whole page, and I noticed that I have much more fun when I add more elements than the theme itself. Because if I had to only draw feathers for the rest of August, I would have probably gone a bit crazy trying to figure out how to incorporate them into spreads, but this way it's just a lot easier and honestly it's more fun for me. So finally, I'm writing the title with my gold pen, and then I also added some small details to tie everything together. This was a pretty simple cover page, but I guess that's how I've been doing them since I started this new journal, and I cannot wait to see what Christine came up with. If you guys don't know her, she is so sweet and talented, and I love her so much, and I'm sure you will too. I will have a link to her video in the description, so make sure you go watch it and show her some love. For my monthly calendar, I started off with the title and I drew 2 feathers across from each other and then some more leaves on either side. I'm gonna have links to all of these supplies that I used in the description, but again, you can literally use anything that you have on hand, and you could also do other color combinations for the feathers if you prefer. Alright, so you guys probably know that my journal has blank pages, so I have to use a grid paper underneath to help me draw straight lines. So I'm just doing a small calendar at the bottom of the page, and each of those boxes is 3x4 squares. Oh yeah, and of course I messed up the dates for the first week, but I just went over it with my Uni-ball pen and fixed it once the ink was dry. So I'm going to show you how I use this calendar, and even though it's kind of small, I still have plenty of space to write the important stuff. So I'm going to be flying back home at the beginning of August, and then I also have another trip at the end of the month, so I really like this format because it's easy for me to see what's going on without adding any unnecessary details. On the next page, I always do my monthly to-do list, which I separate into personal and business. And this whole monthly layout has been working perfectly for the past few months, so I haven't felt the need to change or experiment with other layouts yet. I know I'm not going to have that much going on this month, so I felt free to add more decoration to this page just to tie everything together and fill up the blank space at the bottom. On to the next spread, which is going to be for the month's highlights. I usually only do 1 page for it, but because I'm going to be traveling so much, I know for sure I'm going to have a lot of pictures and memories that I'd like to keep in here, so I am doing a full spread. Usually what I do here is I just doodle the most important stuff, and I also want to use my HP Sprocket printer to print out and paste some pictures. I was debating whether or not to do a habit tracker because, to be honest, I'm probably not going to keep up with it very well, but in the end I decided to go for it, and I just chose some habits that I could still kind of keep up with more or less. So I used my calendar stamps, and I went with the same layout as the previous months just because I didn't really want to experiment with different layouts when I knew I wasn't going to use my bullet journal as much. The next page after this used to be my plant tracker, but I'm going to skip over it because I don't think I'll be using it. So instead I jumped onto my mood tracker. And this one is super simple, just the dates going down the page, and then I'm probably going to do like a graph to fill in the tracker. I think this is going to be the last time that I'm doing a mood tracker in my bullet journal because I want to switch it over to an actual journal next month. Up next, we have the expense page, which I almost wanted to skip over as well because I just didn't want to have to think about it. But being the responsible adult that I am, I decided to keep track of it nonetheless. So I did 8 boxes, each of them for the different categories that I like to track my expenses in. For food, I'm going to track it weekly, and then for utilities and the rest of the categories, I just wrote down everything that came to mind and I'll just fill it in as the month goes by. On the next page, I started drawing a little suitcase for my packing list, and I usually don't make packing lists when I'm traveling just with my carry-on, but honestly, I always end up regretting not using a list because after I leave the house, I start getting paranoid, like, did I get this? Did I forget that? So anyways, I thought I would do one list that I can use for the rest of the year. At the bottom of the page, I also made a list with the stuff that I need to get done before I go. Finally, I'm going to be setting up for the 3rd week of August, and I've been absolutely loving the running list method that I talked about in my previous Plan With Me videos. It's basically where you set up for each day as it comes instead of doing a fixed layout. And that's awesome for me because I don't know what kind of week I'm going to have and how much space I'm going to need for each day. So I just set up for Monday, and this spread is going to be ready to use when I get back from holiday. Alright, so with that, we are finished with the setup, and here's what everything looks like. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I am so excited to see your recreations, so make sure you tag me on Instagram. I hope you will join me go over to Christine's channel to watch her video and send her some love, so check the description for the link. Alright, I hope you have a lovely month ahead, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys!